Hello, we're talking about white and watercolor. How do you do it? And there are lots of ways to do it, lots of different techniques. I'm going to walk through a few of them and just kind of give you a broad overview of your choices. And then we're going to paint something white. And one of the things that I think is most important to remember about painting things that are white is that there really are very few things that are actually white. Like white. Snow is white, but your dog is probably not pure white, and a goose is probably not pure white. Flowers are probably not pure white. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Sometimes you're just gonna paint like a very light value of some other color. So maybe it's a gray, maybe it's a pink, maybe it's a green. It's gonna have some level of color in it and not be pure white, but it's gonna give the illusion of being white in your painting. My beluga whale that I painted years ago is another example of painting something white by painting it a slightly different color other than white. So I used a lot of different grays and blues and even some pink to create the beluga whale. So that's one way. That's kind of what we're gonna do today when we paint our hydrangeas. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other sort of like self-explanatory way to get white is to not paint the paper. If you don't paint the paper, it's going to be white, unless you're not painting on white paper, but then that's different. So sometimes we will just not paint an area, and that will keep it white. This is a dog that I painted years ago at this point, and the muzzle is white, and I just left it white. I just didn't paint it. Now you'll see that there are colors on there a little bit in the front, but mostly I just left it. So that's a choice. You can just paint around it. But sometimes the area is like really small and it's really hard to do that. If that is the situation you find yourself in, you might want to use masking fluid. So masking fluid is kind of like a gluey consistency. It goes on as a liquid and then it dries and then you paint over it. And when you're done painting and your painting is dry, you can just kind of rub it off of the paper to reveal the white of the paper. So this one comes with a little applicator, and this one you have to dip into it with a brush, or you can use what's called a ruling pen. So the ruling pen, it has a little dial here that brings the grippers. I don't know the words. I never know the words. And even when I know the words, I usually forget the words. Whatever these little prongs are, the dial brings them closer together or farther apart. You dip into the masking fluid and then you draw with it. You have to keep dipping back in. So masking fluid is another option. Another way to mask off areas of a painting is with tape. So you can cut tape out into different shapes. You can put it on top of your painting and it will, in theory, protect the painting from the paint. Now that's tricky because a lot of times the tape is going to let paint seep underneath. That's why people use masking fluid. Tape is going to be good for doing straight lines, that kind of stuff. But tape is another way to mask off an area. You can also use just regular old rubber cement. It doesn't come off as nicely as masking fluid, and it has a tendency to rip the paper because it is not intended for this purpose, but you can do it. A resist is another option for keeping white in watercolor. And usually when you talk about a resist, you're talking about something that's going to go on the paper and stay on the paper. So that's going to be like white crayon or wax. This is a Grumbacher wax resist stick. These go on the paper, you draw it on, and then when you paint over it, the wax in them repels the paint so that the paint doesn't stick. So that's another choice. And then another way is by adding something at the end. So that's going to be your Dr. Martens bleed proof white, or a white gel pen, or a white Posca pen. And sometimes people will say that that's cheating, and we just don't buy into that here There's no cheating in art. You can see on my dog, I added white highlights. Let's see, what did I add? Definitely his whiskers were with a white gel pen. Probably, this has been a while, but probably in the eyes, there was some Dr. Martens bleed proof white, and around the nose, the little dots on the nose. The same thing like with the lion, you can see like his chin whiskers. Some of that I just left it and didn't paint on it, but a lot of it is just a white gel pen. Same thing with these whiskers. The highlights in his eyes were Dr. Martens bleed proof white. Any or all of those things can be used to achieve white in your watercolor. And it's really up to you and what you're painting to decide what's going to work best. I'm going to do a little demo of painting some hydrangeas to give you some ideas. It is a voiceover, but the way this goes, I actually think it's going to be more helpful for you than if you were trying to just like paint along in real time. So let's paint. When I walked out to the backyard, I was like, oh, I actually have a lot of white flowers that we could have chosen from, and they probably would have been easier than a hydrangea. But I love hydrangeas, and I think we can do it, so we're going to give it a go. I'm going to provide you with a photo, but this is what my setup looked like. I just had the flowers right in front of me. And then I did start this painting with a line drawing, and it's very loose. I started with the vase, and then when I moved on to the flowers, I just kept my pencil very loose in my hand and made sort of sketchy marks. This is a personal preference, but I really like being able to see my pencil marks under a painting like this. So I just kept it really loose, and I'm not really looking at like specific little flowers within the hydrangea because you would drive yourself mad with that, but instead I'm just looking at the shapes. I'm looking at the outlines. And I think it's important to remember that with a painting like this, if you don't like the shape of a leaf or the shape of a flower, you can just make it up. It does not have to look exactly like your reference. And along those lines, I decided to draw mine so that it's like sitting on a table and it would have a background. And I decided I wanted my background to be a deep blue, so I added a little orange into my indigo since that's the complement. So that made it a little grayer. I put the water down first on the background so that it would be all blendy, and I just kind of moved around my drawing. I was not trying to get like a really smooth wash. In fact, I wanted it to be darker in some areas and lighter in others to add interest to the painting. And I decided to leave that left side of the page kind of open with very little paint on it. Again, just because I wanted to make the painting more interesting to look at. I let the background dry, and then I was ready to add some color into the flowers because even though these are white, they're gonna have a little bit of a greenish yellow undertone. So I mixed some yellow ochre in with my olive green, and I put that dot down, and I was like, that is too dark. So I used my spray bottle to add some more water to it to lighten it up. And I just kind of put down some blobby shapes. I was trying to leave some white space, and honestly, if I were to do this again, I would probably leave more white space than I did. It's really one of the hardest things in watercolor, to leave white space. It takes a lot of practice and restraint, and I don't always get it right. After doing that first layer, I went in with a slightly more concentrated mixture and added some darker blobs. And then I changed it up by adding a little bit more yellow to the mixture and went back into that wet paint. And here you'll see that I keep working within that wet paint. I decided I wanted a little bit of a brighter green, and so I added some of that in. And my thought process here was really just that I wanted to have some variation in the color of the flowers. Remembering that they are supposed to be white, but there are lots of different colors hidden within that white. Then I went back to one of the greens that I mixed up and I started adding in the stems. Once I got that first layer down, I decided it wasn't dark enough and I went back in and added some more paint. And this is something that I would say to do. Like, it's always better to start light and work darker, because it's hard to lift paint, which I just tried to do, just right there. I was actually lifting it from the seam of the book, but I do think this was probably a bridge too far. I think I probably went a little too dark on that last layer. Paint and learn, that's what we're here for. And then here I'm mixing up some brown with a little bit of yellow ochre to put in the imaginary tabletop that does not exist, only in my imagination. I decided to stick with the idea that there is like nothing living on the left side of the page. So I just did a little bit right under the flowers and then left it open on that other side. I did darken up a little bit around the vase because that's where the shadow would be the darkest. Then I mixed up a really dark green to do on the leaves because I knew I wanted them to have a lot of contrast to the white flowers. If you want to darken up your green, you're going to add the complement, which is red, but you can also add a little bit of reddish brown or brown, and that's what I did. I should also point out that at this point, the flowers were dry. If I had tried to put the leaves in when the flowers were wet, it would have all run together. Then I went back and mixed up some more of that blue mixture, which was indigo and a little bit of orange, and I used that to make a really saturated blue that I could use on my vase. I can remember when I first started painting, I was very intimidated by glass, but it is really not that deep. I just outlined the whole thing in that dark blue, and then I brought some of the blue into the vase because you would actually be able to see the blue of the wall behind the vase through the glass. Leaving white space is really the key to doing glass. That's what makes it look like you can see through it. Once I was happy with the way the center part of the vase looked, I went back and added more paint to the outline, and I just kind of let it run in. I'm always trying to think about what's going to add contrast to a painting. You want really dark darks and really light lights. And then I decided to go back and work on the flowers and add a little bit more definition. And this part might be intimidating to you, but really you're just going to make squiggly lines. The first couple ones that I did might have resembled flowers, like a hydrangea has 4 little petals on each flower that makes up the million flowers on the hydrangea. I started with those 4 petals, but then it just turned into a bunch of squiggly marks. So I have a couple of defined flowers, but mostly it's just random shapes that trick your eye into thinking they're flowers. I pretty much just let the paint run out on my brush so that it got lighter as I went, because if you look at that top flower, it's probably a little bit too dark. It started to look better the more washed out the paint got. So I just kind of went with it and just kept adding those squiggly marks to all 3 of the flowers. You're going to see in just a minute that I go in with a colored pencil and I add more definition to the flowers with that. And if that feels more comfortable to you, you could skip the paint part altogether and just do the definition with the pencil. Here I'm just adding the little dots that are at the center of the flowers, and some of them are yellowish and some of them are green. I really just tried to vary it. Then I went back to my dark green and I added a little bit in between the flowers just to try to define them a bit and indicate that there would be a leaf behind the flowers. This is just meant to add a little bit of depth. And when I was doing that, I was thinking that the stems did not look dark enough. So I went in and darkened them up just because I felt like it needed more contrast. I said it before, but lights and darks really are what's gonna make your painting pop. As soon as I made these brown, I knew it was the right call. And along those same lines, I went in with the brown and just darkened up along the bottom of the vase. It is at this point that I got out the colored pencil and I went with a really dark blue to add the veining. And as soon as I started doing this, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna like this. And I didn't. I decided that the leaves were too light. It was too light with the dark pencil and just too light in general. So I decided to go in with another layer of that olive green paint. Again, just focusing on creating a lot of contrast between the white of the flowers and the leaves. And for a final little bit of definition on the flowers, I went in with a colored pencil. And I didn't really have like an olive green pencil. There's not one in the pencils that I currently sell. And I will tell you that it is something that will be coming in the next set of colored pencils because I definitely missed that on the first one. But since there wasn't an olive green, I just went with this yellow ochre color and I just outlined some of those flower shapes. Then I used the dark blue pencil to outline the vase and add more definition there. When you're doing shadows, just always remember that the line where the object meets the surface is going to be the darkest spot. So that's why I darkened that up. And then I went to my Dr. Martens Bleed Proof White and I added the water line in on the vase. I also added a little bit of white onto some of the petals of the flowers just as kind of a highlight. And again, I mentioned this in the beginning, but some people would say this is cheating, that putting white on the painting itself is cheating. And I say, you do you. You do whatever you think your painting needs. And I thought it needed a little highlight here and there. This painting took me a little over 45 minutes in real time to paint, and I think maybe I could have done it faster and not overworked some areas, but in general, I think it's pretty fun. this is sort of to get you started thinking about painting in white. We used a couple of different methods in this that I think will be helpful to you. And I do think it's probably better that this was a time lapse and like a voiceover than trying to paint along with me, because I don't know if I could have painted this and talked through it. I really had to think about what I was doing. Flowers are not my typical thing, at least not in this style, but I do think it ended up pretty. It's very pretty. Maybe you'll try it, maybe it'll just give you ideas for things that you can paint. But either way, I hope it was helpful for you, and I appreciate you being here as always. Bye.